Hey everyone, it's Brett and Miranda. Today's Miranda and I'm Brett, in case you're watching for the first time. All right, thanks for joining us. Am I going to say anything?
Oh, well, you usually have the long spiel to start us off with, and he didn't tell me I was supposed to, you know what I'm saying. He likes to throw this stuff at me, and I'm never prepared for that.
We've been doing this, I don't know,
we have.
Years and years.
I know we have, and we have a routine.
We have a routine.
It's Brett starts, and he has this long spiel of introduction, and then he sets me up. And sometimes I'll fall flat anyways.
Oh, anyway, that's true. So, anyway, I'm going to have Aspen come over and join us. Because we like to do impromptu things. And no, other side. Huh?
You see, if it wasn't impromptu,
it's so hard to find good help. So hard. Today's world, teenagers. Here we are. the Hadley family, coming to you live from Keene, Texas, where it's very hot.
Yes, this next week is going to be right near the 100s all week long.
All week long.
Yep. But we live in Texas, so what
Yes,
do we expect, right?
Absolutely. So, why is Aspen here?
Great question.
To join me.
To join you.
Yep. Happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday to you. Last week. Happy birthday, dear mommy. Happy birthday to you. Last week.
It's true. It's been a whole week now since my birthday. Well, tomorrow it'll be a whole week. So yeah.
Yay.
But thank you.
So, see, there was Brett, the husband, doing something nice, because the rest of the broadcast will be about Brett the jerk ruining days and how bad a husband I am.
It actually made
all broadcast long. One story after the next. What a jerk I am.
It's
So,
not true.
if you think I'm a jerk, you're going to love today's broadcast.
I think the jerkiness has already started because you didn't acknowledge me
Oh,
in this serenade.
that's true, yes. Why should I acknowledge? Your birthday's like, I don't know, a year away.
You said that you sang the song.
Oh,
we sang the
song.
It was a joined effort.
She actually sounds better. She's taken voice lessons from Randy, who's an amazing singer, and Aspen's actually really good herself if she practices. But, you know, teenagers.
Practicing for losers.
For losers, that's right.
You don't think Brett sounds a little grumpy and complaining himself, do you?
So today,
Maybe it's
Miranda will
rubbing
be telling you the details of how horrible a person I am.
Well, see, I'm expecting Brett to join me in the fun. It
fun.
was an interesting day, and if it weren't for Brett, I wouldn't have learned a lot of stuff.
So let's hear how Brett ruined Miranda's birthday.
Brett did not ruin Miranda's birthday. Brett helped facilitate the good things in Miranda's birthday.
Yes, God used me. That's how we're covering this one. God used Brett to try and teach Miranda patience and humility.
There's nothing wrong with learning those things.
Oh no, I love to be a tool.
It doesn't matter how old you are.
No.
It's always good to learn more patience and definitely more humility.
Okay, give me a second here.
Yes,
You just said George?
Yeah.
George is watching.
Yeah,
so I'm going to
cool.
sign. So George, our friend from Lincoln who's deaf, is watching. And so give me a second. I just want to sign a little hello to George. So. Okay, so I just said hi. Said you should come visit Texas sometime. It's hot here, but hope he's having a good summer. And that if he's never been to Texas, I couldn't remember if he'd been to Texas or not, that he should come visit sometime because we miss him. So George's a good friend from Lincoln, where we used to live. So happy to say hi to George and to everybody who's watching from Lincoln and Nebraska, because there are things about Nebraska we do miss. No guns, things like that. Well, very much fewer guns.
Yeah, speaking of no guns.
No guns.
It wasn't too long after we moved in here, and we live like almost directly across
from the school.
From Southwestern Adventist University.
Yeah.
Our neighbors, some guy pulled up, gets out, gun on his hip.
Yeah, he's all, hey, neighbors, we're friendly here. Got a big gun on his waist. It's like, because you have to be friendly.
Yeah.
We're still getting used to Texas, but anyway. But yeah, so if you didn't know, Miranda and I's birthdays are pretty close. We're both in May. She's on the 29th, and we don't know, 24th or 26th.
He's a few days older than me. A few days and a year older.
And a year. 1 year and a couple days.
Yes.
So yeah, my mom says the 26th, the hospital says the 24th, but at least we know Miranda's is the 29th, so I knew which day to pick to ruin for her. Here she goes with that story. All right, take it away, Miranda. I'll just go over here and hang my head in shame. That's what I'll do.
No, this is a really good story, actually. And so anyways, okay, so yeah, last Sunday was my birthday, and it's one of those things, you never know what to do. And but at the beginning of the month, it was Mother's Day, of course. My oldest daughter sent me a gift card to one of my favorite women's clothing stores. And so I had ordered a pair of shoes for, dress shoes. Because honestly, when we left Lincoln, Nebraska, almost a year ago by now, I decided it was time to clean out my shoe closet. So I got rid of so many shoes. If they weren't comfortable, I was not keeping them. It did not matter how cute they were. I was not going to keep them. Whereas Aspen rescued any number of them. But all the same, I ended up with about 3 or 4 pairs of shoes. All the basic colors, red, black, white, and tan. And then some boots. So anyways, I thought, kind of getting tired of these kind of lack of choices. So I picked out a blue pair of sandals, and I ordered them. My word, they were the worst fitting shoes I have ever tried on my entire life. It was horrible. I couldn't even walk in them, literally. And they were a pair of flats. So, we thought, well, that'll be something to do on my birthdays. We can return the shoes. There was an Ann Taylor loft, only maybe a 40-minute drive away up there.
I thought these were the blue shoes.
Yeah, the blue shoes.
They were flats?
Yeah.
I thought they had a little heel.
They were platform.
Oh,
flat platform.
Okay. Yeah.
So it wasn't as though they were a pair of high heels that you're tottering around.
I do notice things.
Yes, they weren't just flats.
I have a wife and a daughter, so slight education in women's clothing. Jeans, a t-shirt, same pair of tennis shoes, but I get to learn different types of shoes.
Yeah, he probably a little more on top of it than Colby was any number of years ago. He had a girlfriend, and she'd spent the summer gone, and she came back, and eventually says, "Do you like them?" He's like, "What?" He's like, "I have new shoes." He's like, "You know what?" He's telling me about this later. He's like, "You know what? She had shoes on her feet. I didn't know if they were new or, old or anything." So, yeah, Brett does better than that.
Anyway, back to the day that Brett ruined. Keep going.
Where was I? Should I just say that, repeat that over and over 100 times, and then we're done?
Yeah.
So, anyways, we decided to go on up there, but now that Brett's on a schedule for eating and stuff, and I can't eat MSG, I thought, you know what? We'll leave directly after Brett has breakfast, and that way we have time to drive up there, do a little shopping. It was at an outdoor mall. Everybody could pick a store that they wanted to go to and have a little bit of fun, and then we would come home in time to eat lunch at 1. Well, Brett is not a morning person, generally, at all, ever, never mind.
Basically, Brett tried to get up and going like he thought he was doing well, but
he
took too long.
He thought... I didn't say anything.
I didn't even take a shower. I was like, we're in a hurry. I won't take a shower. I'll just wash my hair.
I knew. Okay, so Aspen and I finished our breakfast, and we were dressed and ready to go and everything. And Brett, we were waiting around on him and waiting around. And I decided I'm not going to say anything because I know that he has no clue what time it is and such. And so, you know what? I don't want to ruin the day. We're just going to wait and it'll be fine. Until all of a sudden I realized, if we left right about now, we'd have enough time to drive up there and then turn around and come back. I was like, all right, well, I guess I will fix my lunch. And so about 5 minutes into fixing my lunch, Brett meanders on out here to the kitchen, just as innocent as can be. He says,
I thought we were doing fine.
Yes, he did. He really did. He said, are you guys about ready to go?
Because I wasn't taking my time back there going, I think I'll read a magazine. No, I ate. I said, well, I can't, because I hadn't had a shower. And I'm like, well, I'll wash my hair at least, because that's fast. And anyway, keep going. Well,
I probably had larger expectations than I should have. You get those perfect little plans that should work out and probably couldn't, even if you tried really hard. So, I think I did try to be nice because I didn't want to ruin the day. But
I knew I was in trouble when I came out, and I said, "Yeah, we're out ready." And immediately, it was like, "Go back to your room. Things are not good."
Yeah, I tried. I tried, but the words were the right words.
They were the right words, but
probably there was some tension in the air, just floating around a little. Probably managed to get on his side of the room. So,
as the innocent bystander, I can tell you they were not the right words.
They were not the right words.
They sounded right. They were not accusing words. They were just like,
stating the fact.
Yes,
we can't do it now.
Could have been something like that. maybe.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay. So as I'm standing there, steaming just a little. I mean, the pan's not the only thing that's steaming, right? I'm steaming just a little.
I couldn't tell which was coming from the thing cooking in the pan or from her ears. They both kind of mixed together.
On one hand, it wasn't that big a deal, right? But on the other hand, you make these perfect little plans and they aren't working.
Because some jerk. I'm sorry, keep going.
Okay, so I'd been up early on my birthday. I think I woke up about 5 o'clock, and I knew we were going to be leaving early, right? And so I wanted to get my morning devotional time in, and so I thought, I've been keeping devotional journals for about 10 years now, and every now and again I'll go back on my birthday and I'll read what I had written on my birthday for that day. But I hadn't written on all of my birthday, so it really didn't take that long. So, anyways, this morning I thought, I'm going to journal something in my journal for my birthday here. And I started out with a thank you God for this, that, and all these other things that God has done for us. And then I thought, you know what? All these times I've journaled for my birthday, I've never asked God for a birthday gift. Now it's not as though God hasn't given me plenty of things and done plenty of things for us, but I'd never asked for a specific birthday gift. And it's not as though I hadn't asked for plenty of other stuff as well, but no birthday gift. And I thought, boy, have I missed my opportunities, right? Yeah. All these years I could have asked for a birthday gift every year, but I thought, hey, opportunity has arisen, and so I will take it. And so I didn't even have to think about it. There was one thing I've wanted now for a lot of years, 7-8 years at least, since I read the book Humility by Andrew Murray. That just entranced me, basically. I wanted humility. It was something that seemed to be so elusive, and every now and again I might get what felt like a little taste of it, but I probably just kind of wandered off from that. Humility isn't something that comes naturally to us. Humility is, it seems more like pride seems more like a good friend, a good, cool friend, who's wise, and he just wants us to have the best life possible. And he wants our lives to be fair, and he wants things to go well for us, and we need to do certain things to make that happen. So we don't even stop to think about it really as being prideful. It's just how you live, right? And it seems to be a good thing. So anyways, I wrote my journal that that's what I wanted. I mean, I didn't just want it, I needed it, I must have it, I begged for it, I whined for it, I did all the things I'd done for it the last 7 or 8 years, but this time it was going to be a birthday gift, and so.
That's actually, I don't know, many people would think of that. It's really a cool idea, though, God giving you a birthday.
I liked it. Now I can't wait till my next birthday.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool.
So I'd asked for that, and I also told God, well, I know that you have a plan. You have the best plan. I want it right now. You can do this whenever you feel like. Because it had been a journey already, just little bits and pieces at a time. Well, as I was standing there, the pan was steaming and I was steaming.
You can continue on. I'm checking the audio if you wonder why I'm putting headphones on, because we're using new mics and I just have, but she's telling a great story, so you keep going.
So as I was standing there, all of a sudden I thought, oh, what if at this very moment God is holding out his hand and he's offering me the very gift of humility that I just asked for a few hours before.
Yeah, this is a good story also for be careful what you ask for, because God will give it.
Yes. So I thought, what is humility, obviously, outside of accepting the fact that my plan isn't always a perfect and right one. At this very moment in time, there was really nothing wrong. If we left later, if we took my lunch with us, if they ordered lunch, and we ate at a park somewhere or something. And so I just had to kind of laugh at that, and things kind of dissipated, and it was time to go. I was all ready to go because it was going to be an adventurous day. Well, little did I know that, boy, oh boy, it was my birthday. God wasn't giving up at once. No way. And he did use Brett to help facilitate the gift-giving process. So we get in the car, we drive on up there, it's about 45 minutes, and we arrive to the store, and it's about noonish already, and the store is just opening, and And Brett's like, you know what? I'm going to go over to this other store here and use the bathroom real quick. Like, I'm like, okay. But since it's noon and you're supposed to eat about 1 o'clock, why don't you get on your phone and see what kind of restaurants are here in this mall, and then take a look at their menus and see where you guys want to eat, because you should order something so we'll be ready to pick up at noon.
Yeah.
And so as I said that, I reached inside my purse to pull out my bank card because, okay, go ahead.
Yet another way Brett ruins the day.
No, because honestly, it's been at least a couple months ago. I misplaced my keys, and Brett misplaced his card.
Yeah.
This is something both he and
Card
I
and
do.
driver's license, yeah.
We both do this on a regular basis. Misplaced keys, or driver's license, and bank cards and stuff like that. But it was working out fairly good this time because I had the bank card, he had the keys, and it worked out really well.
Yeah.
Except for, like Brett would take the card to do his co-pays at the doctor, or pick up something at the pharmacy or something. But he usually gave the card back. If he didn't, I usually remember to ask for it before I went somewhere. Well, this time I hadn't thought about it. And so we arrived to the store, and sure, I've got my gift card for the store I'm going to go shopping at for my birthday. But Brett will not have a card to order any lunch for them, and he needs lunch. So I'm like, all right, this is fine. Is fine. I'll just return my shoes, and we'll go back home so we can eat. Brett's like, not to worry. I'll set up Apple Pay. So he's putting in information, and I said, I don't know that much about Apple Pay, right? But I said, well, how are you going to get the bank card number for that? And what he says is,
well, I have basic crucial information saved on a protected file, so it's passwords and stuff, and it's on there so that I could do this. I was able to open up Apple Pay and then put my card information in and it turns your iPhone into a credit card.
It's true. Okay, but in the meantime, the first words out of his mouth without thinking, because, was, well, you're going to read the numbers, and as he says it, he realizes what he's saying, And, but then, honest to goodness, despite the fact that Brett and myself may not seem terribly organized sometimes, Brett is very organized. I'm not quite sure why it doesn't pay off for him most of the time. It's really crazy, but it doesn't, even though he is very organized. So on his computer, his Apple computer, he has the file that has all our passwords in it to this, that, and everything else. And he also put in his card number. So he got it off there and set that up, and was able to order some lunch for him and Aspen. So we got to pick that up. It's down the road a few blocks. And he says, and of course, in the meantime, I recognize, well, this is happening, that no need to place blame anywhere because God's plan is always the best. And
even though it's Brett that forgot the card, but yeah.
Well, I could have asked for it. I just didn't think about it either, or checked my purse before I left. So on the way to get the food, Brett decides he needs to take his insulin because I'm driving and he's going to take his insulin, and so he gets the insulin pen out of the cooler.
Wait for it. Here's another way Brett screwed up.
And then he had taken his blood pressure cuff with him. He intended to take the blood pressure cuff with him, and inside the blood pressure cuff was the needle. It seemed like a good place to keep it, right? Except for when he asked Aspen to get that out of his backpack in the back seat, he'd forgotten to put it in his backpack.
Yep.
So now we were still going to have to just take lunch home and eat at home, which
Because
was fine. That was my
needle.
original plan anyways,
Yeah,
right?
I had the pen, no needle.
Yeah. So,
I guess I could have just squirted it in my mouth, but you can't take insulin like that.
So I said, well, you know what? Let's see if we can. Surely there's pharmacies around here somewhere. We're in Dallas-Fort Worth area, so. Yep. So wouldn't you know, there's a Walgreens directly across from the restaurant. So Brett's picked up prescriptions at Walgreens before, so he went in there, but what was it exactly?
So you were like, well, we need needles, but they carry them. They're in stock. Almost every pharmacy carries them, and so went into Walgreens because Walgreens is what we used to use all the time. It has our insurance on file and everything. In fact, we used it when we first got to Texas. So I went in, and they did have the needles that I use, and I said, how much are they going to be? And they're like $60. And I'm like, $60? Is that with insurance? And I'm like, no, they're $20 with your insurance, but you have to have a prescription in order to use the insurance. And the prescription, we had transferred, I started using CVS instead because actually my mom works for CVS, but at least here in Texas, the CVS was a little better than the Walgreens. So the doctor had called the prescription into CVS, not a Walgreens. So I could get them at Walgreens for $60, but I wasn't paying $60 for something that would only cost me $20 at a CVS. So yeah, we went to CVS. There happened to be a CVS not too much farther down.
Yeah, probably barely a mile from there. Yeah, so I drove on over there. Got the needle and stuff, and then
like a druggie, I need needles. I need to take my drugs. I need a needle. I'm an addict looking for a needle.
Yeah, so we found a park that was just a few minutes away. There was any number to choose from, but I picked the biggest park, right? 103 acres. It ought to have some shaded or covered picnic tables, right? And it was a really nice park. It had this great water park, swimming pool thing, and tennis courts, and all kinds of stuff. But they had one very large covered picnic area, which being Memorial Day weekend was being used by probably a church or a large family or something. And we managed to find one other picnic table. And keep in mind, it's in the 90s last week, and so covered would have been good. But we found one. It was just outside of the shade, but it worked for long enough to eat lunch. And so it was one of those days where if something could go wrong, it would.
She's not giving you the correct idea of the picnic table. Had it been on the water and I erected a sail, we would have broke speed records.
Oh, it's true.
Because of the wind.
The wind was pretty crazy, so it was like kind of trying to hold your plates down.
Yeah, and you couldn't just. I had to have Aspen had to sit on the other side, and I would hold her food up. It would blow toward her, and she would catch it in her mouth. That's the only way we could eat.
We didn't actually do that, but it probably would have worked. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, anyways, it was one of those days, like I said, that if something could go wrong, it did. But then again,
if something Brett could do wrong. Brett took too long to get in the morning. Brett forgot the credit card. Brett forgot his needles.
God was using Brett as the human hands to gift me with his humility, which I so begged for.
Thank you so much, God.
As a birthday gift earlier
this morning. Okay, Miranda, let's see. What can I use? Oh, Brett. He's a hapless moron. We'll use him. It'll be easy. We'll just let him be normal.
Okay.
You can tell I'm excited about today's talk. I was so looking forward to this all week. This is really what I love.
It really goes with our next story, by the way.
It does. We have to pick the stories up, though.
Anyways, then again, that's from our perspective.
Yeah.
If anything can go wrong, it did.
It did.
It wasn't going wrong from God's point of view at all.
No.
He had the master plan. It was working really well.
It really did feel like, oh my gosh, what else?
Yes.
You know.
But
you have to say, one thing, while we went through it, every single time we thought, and we solved the problem.
Yes,
we overcame it.
There was a bigger plan.
Yeah.
That was outside of what we were thinking.
Yeah.
And anyway, so in our plans, we can generally see what's happening right now. We can't see into the future. Think Abraham sacrificing, God asked him to sacrifice his son. You know what? He couldn't see anything beyond that, but God could. And when Abraham went ahead and did what God asked him to do, now he could see outside of his own plan. And he could see how God's plan was working out. And so humility, like I said, it is a journey, learning what it is, seeing different perspectives of it. And humility is just me saying, yeah, you know what, God, I got my plan here, but you want to change it? That's fine. It's fine. Your plan is better, and I'm just going to trust it. And so, yeah. So this ties in with the story of the woman at the well. Last week we were in John 17, kind of backpedaled for this week, and we're going to take up a story in John 4 with the woman at the well. And so we don't know too much about the personal story of the woman at the well, but we do know that she had been married to 5 husbands, and that she was currently living with a man who was not her husband. Now, if you think about that, more than likely, there was a whole lot in her life that was probably, if something could go wrong, it did. Just think about it. You know what? You got one husband. How many things can go wrong, right? You got one wife. how many things can go wrong, right?
Nothing goes wrong with the wife. It's always the husband.
Well, Brett, next week you get your turn. How's that? So, anyways, I can just imagine with 5 husbands and a guy you're living with, something must have gone wrong multiple times.
Multiple times, yeah.
And I wonder how that made her feel, really.
Yeah.
You know, did she end up there because that's where she chose to be? Or it was just sort of how it happened in her life?
It would be an interesting story. Not a whole lot we know about it. And being into theater and movies, I love imagining what if or what could be. And her story is one is like, it would be fascinating to know her journey and how she ended up where she was at. Obviously so ostracized, she had to go out in the middle of the day to get water and, you know, to avoid everybody else. And I mean, it would be interesting to know what took her to that place and what brought her to the place where Jesus knew, you know, God led Jesus to this interaction with this woman. She's ready and open at this time. And she's the one who's going to convert the town, not the local rabbi or the local Baptist minister. It's going to be this woman who's going to be the evangelist for her whole town.
Yeah, the least likely person,
yeah.
no doubt, in her town. So, you know, Jesus ends up there at this Samaritan well, and this woman shows up there in the middle of the day, and he says, "Give me a drink." Now, generally, we take those words to mean that he's leading up to, I will instead give you the water of life. But how about we look at that from a different angle? Because when Jesus said, "Give me a drink," he's asking for her to serve him. It was just a different way of saying, "Come, follow me." Because when we follow Jesus, we serve him.
Because I mean, probably a lot of you know this, but it wasn't the same thing as, you know, me asking Aspen to go get me a bottle of water. It wasn't asking just for a favor from a person. Thank you very much. See how good she is. We've raised her well. It was, you know, breaking down and going over some pretty big social barriers and cultural barriers because, one, he's a guy talking to a woman. 2, he's a Jew talking to a Samaritan. So for her to even, you know, consider the of you know, getting him a drink of water was very, like you're saying, it wasn't a simple request. It was, can you look past these things and do this thing for me? It was a far bigger request than just, hey, can I have a drink of water? He was literally inviting her to move beyond where she was and to, you know, follow me, you know, come help me, come be with me.
Yeah, so they have this conversation basically, and Jesus she kind of keeps avoiding that, and she also doesn't get him the drink of water. And
it kind of gets lost in the whole thing.
Yeah, but Jesus, he's not about to let her get away from where he's headed with this conversational journey. And so finally he stops beating around the bush, and he says, "If you knew who I was, you'd be asking me for living water." Well, now, you know what? She just doesn't see how he could possibly do what he says he can do. It's clearly how we treat God sometimes. It was a lack of faith, basically. And she says, "You know what? You don't even have anything to draw water with from this well here that I can see. And this is a deep well. Your arm can't even reach down there far enough to get it. And you expect me to believe that you are going to give me some living water so that I never am going to get thirsty again?" Right.
It's a little more, it was a bit of a, she keeps redirecting, she keeps changing the subject. And so when Jesus says this thing about living water, she starts going off on, well, you can't even draw your own water. But it was really an avoiding tactic, because the things that, you know, when Jesus talks to you and when he talks to this woman, you know, there's conviction on the heart, and she keeps avoiding this and trying to deflect this conviction. He's trying to reach her. And so she's like, well, how can you say that? You can't even get your own water, and it's like, not wanting to get to the heart of, well, what is this living water?
Yeah, it's he's asking her to believe that his plan is better, and she doesn't want to. Kind of, wants to stick with her own plan. It's and speaking of redirecting, maybe a cute story. Brett, when Aspen was little, and she was headed in the wrong direction.
More stories on Brett's bad parenting coming.
This is Brett's good parenting.
Good parenting.
He, instead of letting her get too far,
Yeah.
So that actual punishment might have to come into line, he would start redirecting her. Well, she learned well from her father, and she was probably about 6 years old or so, and we'd go to pick her up from Sabbath school, and he'd talk to the other parents a little bit, and then Brett would say, hey, Aspen, it's time to go. Of course, Aspen is still sitting there at the table, coloring the picture they'd given them, all these pretty colors, and she doesn't want to go. And so but she doesn't say that. She does not say that. She says, oh, Daddy, look at all the pretty colors I'm coloring. Look at her shoes are yellow, and I've colored her eyes blue, and look at this shade of pink that I have for her dress. And next thing you know, Daddy's talking to another parent, and Aspen is still sitting there coloring. Yes. So we often, too, try to redirect God with a new and different plan that we like a lot better.
See, Aspen did the thing all the other kids did as well, but she did it very politely. Other kids, you're like, time to go. Hey, you want to go? Ah! And Aspen like, oh, but isn't my picture pretty? And so it was, oh, what a sweet girl, And so same results in the end, but she was just, she's like, Aspen, it's time to go to bed. No, thank you.
Yeah, she was barely 2 or so.
2 or something.
It took that up.
Yeah.
Are you ready to go to bed, Aspen? No,
thank you.
Yes.
And now she's a teenager. Time to go to bed, Aspen. Why?
You're not in bed.
You're not in bed. Just because you're going to bed doesn't mean I have to.
Being an only child and older parents,
Yeah.
Aspen never really had a bedtime.
No.
So speaking of bad parenting, right? Yeah.
I'm like, don't burn the house down. I'm going to bed.
Yeah. So,
where were we?
Right. Where were we? So Jesus, she may have been mocking him basically, but Jesus, in his great humility, did not stomp his feet and run off. Right?
Yeah.
He held out this opportunity to her, and tells her, he tells her that he can see what she thinks that he can't, and he tells her, yeah, you know what, you have had 5 husbands. Well, he asked her first.
Yeah. First he said, well, go get your husband first, and then
once again he's leading up to it.
Yeah, but think of it this way, and she did sort of mock him over the whole thing, and like, you can't even get out, you can do what, and instead of saying, well, fine, then you lose out, he is going to meet her where she's at. He's about to give her evidence. So when she says, you can't even do this, it's like, really? Let me show you what I can do.
I'll one up you here.
Yeah, and it was in this effort to, I'm going to show you this so you'll believe the other. It's like in several instances where Jesus healed people, the first thing he said to a couple of them was, your sins are forgiven. And the Pharisees, oh, that's blasphemy. And then Jesus said, well, what's easier to say? Your sins are forgiven, and get up and walk. And then so that you can believe, in fact, he says this in Luke, I think it is, so you believe I can forgive sins, rise, stand up, and walk. And so he did one to give faith to do the other. That's what he was doing with her. I'm going to tell you about your life so you will believe that I can give you living water. So he was meeting her where she was at.
Yeah, and just like in our lives, some things, they don't appear to be going right or well at all in our favor. And yet these are these really good opportunities to just accept the humility of God and know that his plan is better than ours.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity to trust him in that. And so, back to the story, she runs back to the village and she tells the people, I met this guy and he knows all this stuff about me that he couldn't know, and he might very well be the Messiah. Come and see. And so Jesus stayed there. He stayed there for 2 days and he taught them. And now, what service to Jesus, right? I mean, what is... this evangelistic service to him was far greater than drawing him a cup of water from
Yeah.
a well, right? And so maybe, just maybe, her whole life, that if something could go wrong, it did, served its purpose there in that moment of time.
Yeah.
After all, if she'd been the perfect little wife of one man, she would have gone to the well in the morning with all the other little wives. But her life hadn't been that. And yet, how do we know that her life wasn't the perfect lead up to be the person who brought all these other people to Jesus?
Yeah, I mean, it makes you think of the promise, all things work together. It doesn't mean all things are going to be wonderful and easy and happy. It means whatever happens in your life, things are going on in your life, God works them together for good stuff, and which was true for her. And we have a saying in recovery, too, that wherever you're at today, that's exactly where you're supposed to be, because no matter where that is, your experiences are preparing you today for tomorrow. And the things that we live through, things that we're doing, are in some way creating us or making us or molding us into the person we need to be for things that are coming up, which you could say is what you're saying for her, the experiences, things that she had in life, although, good choices, bad choices, and this bad circumstance or whatever, led her to this moment and prepared her for this moment. And God used that, even all those horrible experiences, used it to bring about this amazing, thing that turned her life and the life of the town around.
Right. And I mean, we would look at the story of the woman at the well there and think of her life as a real mess up. And yet we would look at the story of Joseph and we hold him up in honor. And yet they both could no doubt look back on their life. Joseph looked back on his life. He said, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. They both saved people, did they not? Their experiences in their life led to saving people.
Yeah.
So living out of the purpose that God has for your life, God did not want the bad things to happen, but He can use the bad things that are going to happen. He can allow those to work for good.
Yeah. So all of us are in that, because it's not just the woman at the well, it's not just Joseph. Those are just stories that God put in the Bible, because for every Joseph and every woman at the well, there's hundreds and hundreds of more that have similar experiences where their life led them to a moment and they had interaction with God. And, those are just the ones God put in the Bible to say, well, see, this is what I can do. This is what is true for all of you, for everybody. What I did for Joseph, what I did for the well, what I did for Peter, James, and John, I can do the same thing for anyone. And the stories that say, like, well, I'm the one with the well, I'm Joseph, I'm Peter, and how God interacted with them is how He interacts with us.
And
that was it.
done. Great wrap, Brett.
Yeah, sorry. Was that really the end?
Well, yes, I was trying to shorten it up just a dab because you were mentioning earlier we were going kind of long. So
once again, Brett goes on and on and on.
No. That was...
Sorry, I was just going to do this today.
I'm the one who writes these things.
That she writes it all. I just sit here and add
I
color.
cut.
She did, actually. So anyway, yes. So thanks for joining us. And I don't know if we know next week or not.
Do not know next week. It's a surprise for you guys, surprise for me. It'll be fun.
And for us. And so we'll be back. And
right, but we'll still be continuing John and Come Follow Me.
yes. A lot
Great
of Come
story.
Follow